Imagine waking up one morning not on Earth. You look out the window. The sky is not blue, it's dusty pink. The sun looks smaller, weaker, like it's shy. Outside, people are walking slowly inside pressurized suits. Robots are humming. Domes are glowing. This is not science fiction. This is Mars in 2050. The interesting question is not, can we go there? We already know how to do that. The real question is much more fun. What will life on Mars actually look like? Let's figure it out step by step. First, let's agree on something right away. Mars is not welcoming you. It is not hostile in an emotional sense. It's worse than that. It is indifferent. There is almost no air, not hard to breathe. Air, no air. The pressure is so low that exposed water doesn't freeze, it boils. The temperature can plunge to minus 80 degrees Celsius, and the planet has no global magnetic field, which means radiation from space hits the surface directly, like a slow, invisible rain. Mars doesn't care that you're human. It doesn't care about your courage, your dreams, or your flags. Physics is in charge here. So in 2050, when humans arrive on Mars, they don't step out heroically and plant gardens. They hide. Because survival comes before civilization. The first human presence on Mars will not be a city. Cities are for places that forgive mistakes. Mars does not forgive mistakes. What you build first is an outpost. Smooth, tight, engineered down to the last bolt. Every wall has a purpose. Every pipe has a backup. Every breath is measured. And here's the clever part. You don't build on Mars. You build inside it. You dig. You bury habitats beneath layers of Martian soil regolith because dirt is free. And dirt is excellent at blocking radiation. This is a beautiful idea. Nature gives you a deadly problem. You don't complain. You don't argue with it. You ask a better question, what can I use? The answer is always the same in science. Use what's already there. So humans go underground, not because it's comfortable, but because it works. Inside these buried habitats, life is quiet. No windows, no wind, no open sky. Just a soft mechanical hum air circulating, water recycling, systems checking systems. You don't live on Mars. You are maintained by it. And this changes the human mindset. On Earth, you can be careless and survive. On Mars, carelessness is fatal. Every arrival understands this instantly. You are not conquering a planet. You are borrowing time from it. Mars teaches its first lesson immediately. Survival is not about strength. It's about understanding the rules. And on Mars, the rules are written by physics, not by hope. By 2050, if you imagine Mars covered in skyscrapers, glass towers, neon lights, forget it. That's an Earth fantasy. Mars does not reward ambition. It rewards efficiency. So the first Martian cities won't grow upward. They'll grow outward and inward. Not cities, really. Clusters. Picture this. Low domes, half buried in red dust, connected by sealed tunnels, like bubbles frozen in time. Each bubble has exactly one purpose. One for sleeping. One for growing food. One for science. One for machines that make parts for other machines. Nothing extra. On Earth, we build for beauty. On Mars, we build for survival. There are no streets, no traffic lights, no cars. Why? Because you don't waste energy moving mass when mass is expensive. You walk. And sometimes you almost float. Mars has only 38% of Earth's gravity. That sounds fun at first. You jump higher, you feel lighter, like the planet is letting you cheat. But physics always collects its debt. Low gravity weakens muscles. Bones lose density. Your body, slowly and quietly, starts to forget Earth. So Martian cities fight back. They are designed to force movement. You don't sit all day. You exercise just to exist. Treadmills become hallways. Resistance bands replace chairs. Some habitats rotate slowly, creating artificial gravity through motion. Not because it's comfortable, because it's necessary. On Mars, laziness is dangerous. Even sleep is engineered. Light cycles are controlled perfectly because Mars days are longer than Earth days. Your brain needs Earth rhythms even when your body is on another world. Every system watches every other system. Oxygen, water, temperature, radiation levels. Nothing is trusted to chance. And here is the strange thing. These cities feel quiet. No crowds, no noise, no chaos. Just people who know that if one person makes a mistake, everyone pays for it. So cooperation isn't a moral choice. It's a law of nature. On Mars, a city is not a place to express yourself. It's a machine designed to keep you alive. And if you understand how it works, if you respect the rules, it lets you stay. That's the deal. Now let's ask a very practical question. A question physics cares deeply about. What's for dinner? On Earth, food is everywhere. You walk into a store, you forget how miraculous that is. On Mars, food is not a lifestyle. It is a system. You don't hunt. Trees nothing to hunt. You don't farm in soil. Martian soil is toxic, full of perchlorates that poison life. So you do what humans always do when nature says no. You engineer a yes. By 2050, every bite of food on Mars is planned long before it's eaten. Food doesn't grow in fields. It grows in vertical farms, sealed inside pressure-controlled domes. No sunlight. The sun is unreliable here. So instead, plants grow under LED lights, tuned to exact wavelengths, red for growth, blue for structure. Not beautiful. Efficient. Water is too precious to waste, so every drop is recycled. Water you drink today was water someone drank yesterday. And the day before that, it sounds unpleasant until you remember something important. On Earth, it's already true. We just don't like thinking about it. Plants don't grow in dirt. They grow in mist. Roots hang in the air, sprayed with nutrients measured down to the molecule. Potatoes, leafy greens, herbs, simple food, reliable food. Because on Mars, variety is a luxury. Calories are survival. Protein doesn't come from cows. Cows are a terrible idea in space. They're heavy. They eat too much. They breathe. Instead, protein comes from algae, fungi, and lab-grown meat. Meat without an animal. Cells multiply in tanks, fed sugars and amino acids. No pain, no emotion. Just chemistry doing what chemistry does best. Meat is no longer farming. It's manufacturing. And something strange happens to human thinking when this becomes normal. Food loses romance. You don't eat because you feel like it. You eat because the system says your body needs fuel. Calories in, calories out. Biology becomes accounting. And yet there is beauty here. Because every meal represents victory over an impossible environment. Each bite says, we understood the rules and we worked within them. On Mars, eating is not about pleasure. It's about respect. Respect for physics. Respect for limits. Respect for life itself. And when dinner is over, you don't leave leftovers. Because waste is something only comfortable planets can afford. Now let's be honest. None of this works without machines. Not a little bit. Not a support. Completely. By 2050, Mars is not a human world. It's a machine world that allows humans to visit. Before the first person ever steps onto Martian soil, robots arrive years earlier. They don't complain, they don't panic, they don't need oxygen, they build habitats, they dig underground. They assemble power systems piece by piece, bolt by bolt. While humans are still training on Earth, machines are already working. Mining ice from beneath the surface, refining it into water, splitting it into oxygen to breathe, and hydrogen for fuel. Robots drive trucks across empty red plains, navigating by satellites and algorithms, repairing themselves when something breaks. And something always breaks. That's the rule, not the exception. Humans do not do dangerous work on Mars, because danger is expensive. Machines take the radiation. Machines take the cold. Machines take the long, lonely hours. Humans supervise. That's the new role of intelligence, not muscle, but judgment. This isn't exploration like the old days. It's systems, engineering. Organizations like SpaceX and NASA don't just send rockets anymore. They send ecosystems, closed loops, Air feeds people. People produce waste. Waste feeds machines. Machines keep air alive. Nothing is isolated. Everything is connected. And at the center of it all is energy. Power is life on Mars. Solar farms stretch across kilometers of red dust, panels angled perfectly toward a pale sun. But Mars has dust storms, weeks, sometimes months. So solar is not enough. That's why small nuclear reactors sit quietly underground, doing something very boring and very important. They work. Because on Mars, if the power goes out, you don't lose convenience. You lose everything. No air, no heat, no water circulation. So redundancy is not optional. Every system has a backup. Every backup has a backup. If something can fail, it is assumed that it will. This isn't pessimism. It's engineering honesty. And here is the strange thing. Mars doesn't make humans weaker. It makes them precise, careful, thoughtful, respectful of cause and effect. On Earth, technology makes life easy. On Mars, technology makes life possible. And that difference changes everything. Now we come to the big word, the exciting word, the dangerous word, terraforming. It sounds simple. Take a dead planet, add air, add water, add trees, turn Mars into Earth. But physics doesn't care how nice an idea sounds. So let's ask the question the right way. Can we terraform Mars? Short answer, no. Not by 2000. Not even close. Mars is missing too much. Its atmosphere is thin, almost gone. Its gravity is weak. Its magnetic field is dead. Which means even if you added air, Mars would slowly lose it again to space. Like pouring water into a bucket with a hole. That's not failure. That's just reality. But here's where humans do something interesting. When we can't change the whole problem, we shrink it. By 2050, terraforming doesn't mean changing the planet. It means cheating locally. Instead of transforming Mars, we transform small pieces of it. Enclosed regions, controlled environments, domes the size of cities. Inside these spaces, engineers experiment. They release greenhouse gases not into the planet, but into sealed volumes to trap heat. They thicken the air inside structures until humans can walk without pressure suits. Not comfortably, but briefly. They melt underground ice to create internal lakes and reservoirs. Water that never touches the open Martian surface, because the surface still belongs to Mars, not to us. This isn't science fiction. It's environmental engineering under strict limits. And here's the important idea. Terraforming is not about domination. It's about negotiation. Mars sets the rules. Low gravity, high radiation, thin atmosphere. Humans don't break those rules. They work around them. That's how science actually progresses. Not with grand gestures, but with careful compromises. And something subtle happens here. The dream changes. Instead of asking, how do we make Mars like Earth? We start asking a better question. How do we live responsibly on a planet that is not ours? That's a very different mindset. It's not conquest. It's coexistence. Mars doesn't need to become Earth. In fact, if it did, we'd learn nothing. Mars is valuable because it is honest. It reminds us that life is fragile, that atmospheres are precious, that planets are not disposable. So by 2050, terraforming is not a miracle. It's a lesson written in red dust, taught by physics, and learned the hard way. And maybe that's the point. In 2050, the people living on Mars are not adventurers. They are not thrill seekers, not dreamers chasing glory, not people trying to escape Earth. Those people don't last. Mars selects very carefully. The first long-term Martians are engineers, biologists, systems designers, people who enjoy fixing things, people who stay calm when alarms go off, people who ask, what failed? Instead of who's to blame, because on Mars something is always failing. A valve sticks, a sensor lies, a pump hesitates, and every small failure is connected to something much larger. But then there's a profession most people don't expect, psychologists. Not because Martians are weak, but because isolation is powerful. Mars is quiet, unnaturally quiet. No wind through trees, no insects. No distant cities humming at night. just machines breathing, and your own thoughts. There is no earth hanging in the sky the way the moon hangs over us. Just a bright star, small, distant, unreachable. That distance does something to the human mind. On Earth, when life feels heavy, you can walk outside. You can disappear into noise. On Mars, there is nowhere to disappear. Every conflict echoes. Every mood spreads. So future Martians are trained not just to survive physically, but emotionally. They are selected for patience, for self-awareness, for the ability to sit quietly with uncertainty. You don't argue on Mars. Arguments waste oxygen. You don't panic. Panic kills people. Mars doesn't forgive emotional mistakes. A bad decision made in anger can shut down a system everyone depends on. So the culture that forms on Mars is different. Egos shrink. Cooperation is not a virtue. It's a requirement. People speak carefully, listen closely, check each other constantly, not because they're afraid, but because they understand the math. One habitat, one air system, one shared reality. And something unexpected happens. Without distractions, without excess, without noise, people change. Less interested in pretending. Mars strips humans down to essentials. Who you are when everything unnecessary is gone. And that may be the most radical experiment of all. Not testing technology, not testing physics, but testing the human mind under pressure, in silence, on another world. By 2050, Mars is not a second Earth. That idea disappears quickly. Mars doesn't want to be Earth. And trying to force it would only teach us how fragile we are. Instead, Mars becomes something else. A mirror. A place that reflects humanity back to itself, without decoration, without comfort, without excuses. On Mars, resources are limited. Not expensive, not inconvenient, limited. There is only so much air, so much water, so much energy. Every calculation matters. Waste is not a bad habit. It's a fatal error. On Earth, we argue endlessly about beliefs. On Mars, belief is irrelevant. Physics does not care what you think should happen. Biology does not care what you feel is fair. Only what works, works. Everything else fails, and failure is not philosophical. It is immediate. On Mars, cooperation is not a moral ideal. It's mandatory. You don't survive alone. You don't succeed independently. There are no heroes here. There are only systems and the people who maintain them. If one person ignores the rules, everyone pays the price. So slowly, something changes in human behavior. Noise disappears. Ego shrinks. Truth becomes valuable again. Because lies don't circulate oxygen, pride doesn't generate power, and denial doesn't recycle water. Mars removes the luxury of self-deception, and that's uncomfortable. But it's also clarifying. Science becomes central again. Not as authority, but as survival strategy. You don't believe in science on Mars. You use it. Test, measure, adjust, repeat. Mars teaches a lesson Earth keeps forgetting. Nature is not negotiable. You can only understand it or suffer the consequences. And here's the strange twist. Mars is not valuable because we might live there forever. It's valuable because of what it teaches us about living anywhere. It reminds us that atmospheres are precious, that stability is fragile, that civilization is a thin layer of order floating on top of chaos. Mars doesn't change humanity by being kind. It changes humanity by being honest. And maybe that's the real destination, not a red planet, but a clearer understanding of who we are when nothing unnecessary remains. So when you ask, what will Mars look like in 2050? The real answer is this. Mars will look like humanity learning again, learning limits, learning discipline, learning respect for nature. And maybe, just maybe, Mars won't change us because it's easy, but because it's honest.